Welcome to the Vault Studios Fantasy Football Podcast, your one-stop shop for all fantasy football info. Here are your hosts.
Welcome to the Vault Studio Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Lewis Glover, and we're back. We missed a week, but it is good to be back on the microphone. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Corey Easley. How you doing, man?
Good, man. What's up? How's everyone doing out there? Another week down. We're halfway through the season. It's pretty crazy when you think of that.
It's wild, right? We're going into week 8, midway point of the fantasy season, assuming your commissioner isn't a complete moron and plays week 17. That's for DFS. DFS only for week 17. But yeah, man, we're halfway there, and you think about how long we wait during the off season, right? The countdown for football, month by month, week by week, and already we're already halfway through the year. And this year's just been so crazy in terms of injuries, and I'm exhausted already. Got to fire up, got to re-energize, drink some 5-hour energy, some Monster Energy, whatever we can get our hands on, and get the push through the second half of the season. Where, as I said, we missed a week. That was on me. I've been moving into state. I've been allowed finally into the state of Queensland under the dictator Anna. She's allowed us in. So it's good. It's good to be up here in warmer climate, and just excited to be back podcasting.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Like you said, traveling and within Australia is a bit tricky at times. At this point in time, so yeah. But yeah, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be back. Now, we've got a huge show coming up. We've got so much to talk about. And because we're recording on a Friday this week, we have the luxury of breaking down what we saw on Thursday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons at Carolina. But before we get into it all, it is my pleasure to remind you all that we are brought to you by Breaking Oz Memorabilia, who are bringing you some of the best authentic signed helmets and merchandise in Australia. To get involved, head on over to facebook.com/groups/Breaking Oz. And not only do they sponsor the fantasy show, Breaking Oz are now the major sponsor of the Vault Studio, the entire studio. And to celebrate that partnership, we kicked it off with a Terrell Suggs signed Baltimore Ravens helmet that says T-Sizzle on it. That went in a break in the group. We've got another helmet coming next month. But the exciting news for all Vault Studio patrons who sign up at the $10 a month or level, every single person will be entered into the break for a helmet on a monthly basis for a chance to win. So if you want to win one of these incredible helmets, all you need to do for a chance to be chosen is to head on over to Patreon, subscribe to the Vault Studio, support the studio, and be in with a chance to win yourself some seriously awesome signed helmet merchandise. They look absolutely spectacular. And I know you're hoping, Corey, to be one of those lucky few who potentially wins a helmet and add to your collection.
Yeah, I would love it. Always adding as much as I can with those awesome helmets we get from Breaking Oz Memorabilia. So make sure you guys check it out. It's a lot of fun as well. So it's a good group of guys. So check it out. Get in a break. There's lots of minis out there, so you don't have to pay tons to get in. So
right.
It's different varying entry points. So check it out. Maybe win yourself a nice lid for your mantelpiece.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. There's a price point and an entry point for everyone, for all levels of collectors in there. All right, let's move on to the, news and relevant notes section of the show. And I guess the biggest news item coming out of the NFL in the past week is that Antonio Brown is back. He will have completed his suspension after this week, and he's reuniting with Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay. What was your immediate reaction to this news? Were you surprised by it?
Not surprised. I think everyone kind of predicted that at least that Brady wanted AB down there. So I wasn't surprised at all. I just, Arians coach speak is one of the most annoying things in the fantasy community and NFL community, because whatever he says, just believe the opposite.
Except when he says we got to get Mike Evans more involved, and he did get him 10 targets that game. So Uh,
Can you say that again, please?
Yes. Please say that again. But shout out to BA on that one.
But yeah, so I mean, you heard it around the tracks, like Brady was vouching for him. I mean, Arians has been around him before, so I think he's on a short leash, but obviously it helps their team. I mean, it just makes him that more, tougher to cover on defense, and they now have the game plan for Antonio Brown and everyone else on that offense.
Right. The rich keep getting richer. And the way BA referred to him was an insurance policy. He said, we've got two great guys here in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and he's an insurance policy. And he said, with Chris Godwin out this week with a broken finger, that AB could be that insurance policy coming in week 9. My read on the situation is this. AB is going to be heavily involved. He's Tom Brady's guy. Brady wanted him there. Antonio Brown has taken an incredibly low-value contract, which I think he could have earned a lot more money on other teams. He always wants to play with Tom Brady. I mean, through his shitstorm of crazy tweets of the many that we've seen, he's always, one thing has been consistent, was his relationship with Tom Brady and saying that Tom Brady was the quarterback he wanted to play with. And what did we see in his one game with the New England Patriots? Granted, it was against the Miami Dolphins, whose defense is a shadow of what it looks like this season. But Brady went to AB early. He went there often. And, AB had a good game. He got in the end zone. And I think we're going to see that in week 9. And I guess we can talk about that more next week. But just reacting to it, I think AB dents Godwin's immediate value. And I think it dents a little bit Evans' immediate value. But let's be honest, this season, unlike no other, Evans has struggled to stay healthy. Godwin has struggled to stay healthy. So I think there's going to be times when AB is going to be an absolutely monster play. And if you drafted him and stashed him, or you went and got him for a cheap price in Dynasty, congratulations, well done. I'm patting myself on the back here because I loaded up in best balls early on during the offseason. So, I'm excited to see what he does. And obviously the conjecture around him serving his suspension just wasn't true. Many people believed that AB had to be on a team before the clock would start in his suspension. Clearly, that wasn't the case. His suspension will be up after this week, which is why he signed with the team. So it's all systems go for AB. And I truly believe that when he gets out on the field, people will remember the AB from Pittsburgh 2 years ago, one of the best receivers in the game. And that's what we're going to see when he steps out onto the gridiron for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think you just have to temper your expectations for all the weapons on this team now. I mean, even more so, I think Brady is just going to pass the open guy. Yes, he does tend to have his favorites at times as well, but he's always going to hit the open guy. So, I mean, that's why we saw, Scotty Miller blow up after doing nothing last week. So, you just have to temper your expectations a little bit. I think, everyone kind of takes a little bit of a hit, and obviously AB gets more of a role. And yeah, I think that's a fair statement to make. I don't know what more you can really say until we actually see how it all eventuates.
Right. But who doesn't take a hit here?
Who?
Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah. I know. I just picked him up in a league.
Right. So, man, in all seriousness, Tom Brady could be a top 5 quarterback from here on out. This is how well he's playing. This is like he looks vintage at the moment. He's throwing the deep ball well.
Like a fine wine.
He really is the finest of wines, the finest of avocado wines, because he just looks sensational. And he's got all of these weapons everywhere. Gronk is coming back into, not his prime, but certainly he's improving week to week. He's looking fitter. He's looking more athletic, putting some size on, getting some of Peyton Manning's wife's supplements over there down in Tampa Bay. So well, I can slander him now. He's not on the Patriots. It's okay. But I just think Tom Brady is just going to end up being a complete steal by the look of things, because people after those first couple of games started to drop him, and he was a guy who was going at like QB 10. And then you could start to get him off the waiver wire. And, he's going to be a top 5 to 8 quarterback for the rest of the season is where I'm at with that. So let's tie a bow on Tampa Bay AB news there. Let's talk reluctantly now about the New England Patriots offense, which, I started Cam Newton in about 8 leagues last week. So getting negative scores in all of those at the quarterback position was problematic for me in quite a few of them. It was bad.
You know what was problematic for me is sending my first round pick away for a Cam Newton in a super flex. So that happened.
Oh no. Oh no.
But anyway, yeah, life goes on.
I'm pouring one out for you figuratively right now because I don't want to ruin the carpets of my new apartment already.
I'm in 20 leagues. It's okay.
You'll bounce back. Absolutely. But man, if producer JA was here and doing his job instead of being out enjoying the newly found freedom in the state of Victoria, I'm sure he'd have some kind of flushing toilet sound gift or something to say on the Patriots offense right now. But it's bad, and things go from bad to worse with Julian Edelman getting a knee surgery and Ian Rappaport saying he's out indefinitely. Wouldn't shock me to see him go to IR for at least 3 weeks. It wouldn't shock me at all to see them start to pull this team apart and trade it for pieces moving forward, because it just does not look good at the moment. Teams are realizing that Cam has no one to throw to, and the reality is there is no one viable to start on this offense in season-long weekly lineups. I mean, Cam Newton if he's your QB2 in a Superflex league, you're probably starting him unless you've got an absolutely loaded skill position grouping, and then you might have a question to ask yourself. I truly don't think we're going to see another, negative or below 5-point game from him. I think that's a bit of an outlier. I do think we're going to see improvements, but the ceiling that we saw, back in week 2, I think it was against Seattle, that's gone. That's gone.
Yeah.
Right. Julian Edelman was his deep threat that week. It's gone. And I was excited. Between then and now, Julian Edelman's obviously injured his knee. So it's not a good situation in the New England offense right now. Do I think it'll be corrected well enough this season? Probably not. There's just nobody there. They don't have the personnel to do so.
No, they definitely don't. I mean, we saw Jacoby Myers appear from out of nowhere last week. So that was nice to see. You probably expect like Gunnar Olszewski and Isaiah Zuber to be activated from the practice squad this week. So, yeah, it's just, more guys that most people have never heard of. If I wasn't a Patriots fan, I probably wouldn't know either. I mean, Gunnar was a D2 cornerback. So yeah, but
I mean,
the interesting thing about this weekend.
Yeah, he just adds to this myth. Sorry. He just adds to this myth that Bill Belichick goes down to the supermarket and gets the guy bagging groceries. And he's like, "Hey man, you want to come play wide receiver for the Patriots?" Because basically what he's doing, he's a D2 cornerback.
Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quarter.
No, corner. I know. Corner. Sorry, that's my funny accent. Yeah, I mean,
play defense after they ship Gilmore.
Oh man.
But this weekend is going to be really interesting because the Buffalo game, 90% chance of precipitation, 25-mile-an-hour winds. So they don't need to pass this week. So it'll be fun.
It's gonna be fine. Josh Allen's gonna be overthrowing everyone. I can't wait. Oh man.
Bet the under.
Yeah, bet the under on this one. More injuries. There's just been so many of them, especially at the running back position. But let's move over now to the Seahawks backfield, where Chris Carson is I mean, poor Chris Carson. He's a tough dude, but he's got some kind of mid-foot sprain. It looks like he's going to be out this week. He hasn't practiced. His immediate backup, Carlos Hyde, as of Thursday, hadn't practiced. His backup, Travis Homer, as of Thursday, hadn't practiced. It's one man. 1 week only. DJ Dallas. This is a guy, man. I picked him up on every waiver run. Everyone was running after Carlos Hyde. And I was like, I don't know, man. Carlos Hyde, 30 years old, hamstring injury. I don't know about this. DJ Dallas, and I want to shout out Edwin Porras. I hope I pronounced his name correctly.
Yeah, that's
Edwin
my guy.
Porras.
I know Edwin. Yeah.
You know Edwin, right?
Yeah.
Great PT on Twitter. He writes for Fantasy Points, one of my favorite websites. Shout out to the guys over there, the new startup for this season, Fantasy Points. But he was, talking about these injuries on the Fantasy Points podcast, and yeah, it made me want to go out and get DJ Dallas. He was the guy. I didn't put in claims for Carlos Hyde anywhere. It was DJ Dallas, and I'm going to be feeling real confident starting him in a projected bell cow workload, because even if Hyde is active and gets in light work on Friday, I'm not confident in him rolling him out with a hamstring strain that's one breakaway run and it flares up again. So I think Dallas is going to get the majority of the touches here for this week. So probably literally a 1 week rental. I think he's going to be chalky AF in DFS because of his low price. But yeah, I think it's DJ Dallas week.
DJ Dallas week. I don't know what that means. I guess we'll see. I think, it kind of depends on, I think Carlos Hyde might play. I know he's not practicing yet, but it's just one of those things. It'll be really interesting to see if they just roll out there with DJ and no one else, and how that all works out. But DJ Dallas, high pedigree coming out. A lot of people liked him. So maybe he gets his chance here and actually solidifies some kind of role going forward as well, because, Carlos Hyde is just a guy.
Yeah, I mean, at this point. But how's this for a segue? Speaking of solidifying a role going forward, what about Mike Davis? Do you think he's done enough? Because Christian McCaffrey should be back. I know I'm just absolutely professional content here on the Vault Studio. But Christian McCaffrey should be back for week 9. They almost activated him for this week. But because it was the short week, I think if it had been a typical Sunday kickoff, they probably would have rolled with him. But given the shortened week, they opted to play safe, roll with Mike Davis. And, if we're being honest, the offense has looked just as good, maybe even not, if not better, with Mike Davis back there, because, Christian McCaffrey isn't commanding all of those touches. They're getting the ball around to mouths to feed. The Thursday night game was a typical example of that, where it was Curtis Samuel week. He got involved heavily. Christian McCaffrey's obviously going to return to, a huge workload, but I'm thinking it's going to be more along the lines of a 70-30 split rather than the 92-8 split that we've been used to seeing of Christian McCaffrey over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think if Carolina's smart, that's the way they go about it. Mike Davis hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks. However, he doesn't need to be great when you're only getting, 25% of the carries. He just kind of needs to be Mike Davis. So it's not like they're going to be asking him to be more than what he already is. I think he obviously punched above his weight for, the first little bit of McCaffrey's injury. And now getting McCaffrey back is a win for the offense, and then having Mike Davis there, I think will overall help McCaffrey stay fresh and, on the field.
Right. Yeah. And he's been fine. Like he had a good game this week against.
He's Mike Davis.
Yeah. He's like above replacement level running back. He's done well, and I believe that the stat flashed up on the screen on Thursday Night Football. Since coming in for Christian McCaffrey, he leads all running backs in receiving yards. Like he's being used in all facets of the game. He's still not very old, and I can imagine, based off of the way he's played and the way he looks in this offense, carving out a contract extension for himself here in Carolina moving forward, and being the guy to spell Christian McCaffrey, because they gave him this outrageous, stupid contract that they can't get out of, that no one's going to want to take on, and then found themselves going, oh, well, shit, we're paying Mike Davis $8 an hour, and he's doing, quite a lot of what we've asked Christian McCaffrey to do. Obviously, he's not McCaffrey. He's not, going to replace him fully, but the offense started to look better. And that's, there's many factors to that. It's the offense getting more reps together in a shortened, with no preseason. It's them starting to come together and Bridgewater getting on the same page as receivers, et cetera, some easier matchups, all of those things. But I think Mike Davis should get some run here in Carolina, at least through the rest of the season, as they look to protect Christian McCaffrey in what is really looking now like a lost season for the Panthers.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that sentiment.
Also in this game, sucks. We saw Calvin Ridley go down.
Your
with
boy.
some kind of guy. I gave him the kiss of death. I went in and bet on him to lead the league in receiving yards a couple of weeks ago. The last time we did a podcast together, I mean, and then he was fourth. Then coming into this week, he was third. I was excited. Great matchup. I rolled him into my multi-bet, and dead.
Yeah, I had him anytime touchdown today. That didn't happen. Tough break for Ridley. Apparently, news just came out recently, like within the last 30 minutes, that it's not deemed to be serious. So that's good news for all fantasy owners. So he should be back in a week or two, hopefully, back in your lineup.
Yeah, hopefully, given that they're going to have the extra few days of recovery, that we can get him back out here in week 9. And then the last thing I thought we should touch on in this section of the show is it looks like Andy Dalton is going to miss this week.
Yep.
And we're going with DiNucci.
Yeah, James Madison.
James Madison.
The pride of James Madison.
Right. And I mean, I don't even have words for how devastating this is just for the Cowboys offense as a whole. But really, since Dak went down, Dalton has not been adequate. The offensive line is dead. Zeke has decided to dip his hands into oil before every game. Like it's just a mess. Cooper takes a hit. Lamb takes a hit. Schultz takes a hit. Gallup is dead. Like, it's just not good. The only thing I can think of that might be a positive, considering where you drafted Ezekiel Elliott and how disappointing you would have been in his production, is that they just might want to run the ball 40 times and not let DiNucci try to throw it all that much. It's all I can think of this week. They're in prime time, nationally televised game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it could get ugly for the Dallas Cowboys. Things are going to get worse before they get better in Jerry world. With no offensive line and the Eagles pass rush coming at them, I think this could be nasty. This could be a real bloodbath that you don't really want any part of. And you're just going to have to hope for, Zeke to house a screen or to just get loose on something. But that's all you're really going to be able to hope for this week.
Yeah, I think it's got obviously a tough spot for DiNucci, but I mean, he's the starter of the Dallas freaking Cowboys right now. I think if he does kind of take the bull by the horns here, he could potentially just become the starter the rest of the year, which would be interesting. But that being said, I don't give him much chance against this.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. I don't give him much of a chance against this Eagles defense. I saw the meme. The Eagles will be calling that Madden play engage 8, or just send everyone.
Send everyone.
Just call that play over and over again. I think it's going to be tough for DiNucci. I think they try to play it safe and conservative, and I don't think that's going to play well because the Eagles are starting to get healthy now. Rieger's coming back. Alshon Jeffrey's not far away. This is not the time to be playing the Eagles coming off big comeback win for them, and they want to put a game together where they smack someone as well. So they've kind of been struggling a little bit themselves. So for them, it's a huge game to come out and take out this hobbled Dallas Cowboy team. So I like the Eagles in this one easily.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about it from the Eagles' perspective. They've had to deal with all kinds of question marks about their team. They now get a nationally televised game against their biggest rival. They get to depleted defense, no offensive line, absolute scrub at quarterback. This could be a huge platform for the Eagles to take off from for the rest of the season. Really generate some momentum and just embarrass the Dallas Cowboys. So I think it could happen. I think that's the likely outcome for that to happen. I can just see, I don't know what's going on. We're on StreamYard. I can just see Corey's like put up a little video and something's just like flashing in the corner here. And, I'm just watching
DiNucci highlights. That's all.
If I see something shiny, my eye gets automatically drawn towards it. DiNucci highlight reel looks like it's 37 seconds long. Nice. All right, yeah. So downgrade your Cowboys, and the last thing I will say on that is that Zeke Elliott could be a nice little contrarian GPP play because locked in volume there at the running back position. Everyone's off on Zeke. We talked about why, but it just could be one of those days where he gets loose and just has a day, and
He barely needs it. Badly needs it.
He badly needs it, right? He badly needs it, and it's not going to be someone I'm going to be bullish on. But there's a few lineups where I play some Zeke, just purely contrarian. I'm sure his ownership is going to be quite low. All righty, let's move on now, Corey, to our buy, sell, and hold segment.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Why don't you share with our listeners who you've got for your buy this week?
All right, my buy. I'm doubling, tripling down. My guy, Brandon Cooks. Now, Brandon Cooks is someone that the owner right now probably hasn't played him. Maybe played him last week, coming off that game where he led the team in routes and snaps and everything except for catches and yards, where he had 0. I'm pretty sure, you could have gotten Cooks for pretty much whatever you wanted to. I saw him actually being dropped in a few spots as well. I snatched him up in those leagues that he got dropped, but he came back with a vengeance, obviously coinciding with Billy O'Brien's firing. Cooks came out raring to go. I think he had 9 catches for 180. And then, he's been pretty consistent since then. So he's getting peppered with targets, especially in PPR. He's been a really nice receiver. I still think you can get him pretty cheap. I think that, like I said, the owners probably only played him 1 week. So after that huge game, they're probably still a little bit, shaky on playing him, thinking that was a bit of an aberration. But I think he's someone that you can grab, and I think you should.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, there's all of the trade rumors as we approach the deadline here that Will Fuller could be on his way out. The team has chosen to not exercise their 5th-year option, being that he was a first-round pick. So he is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. They might be looking to get some compensation in return, knowing that it's probably a lost cause for them this year. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Will Fuller, head towards, pastures anew, and Brandon Cooks really lead the team significantly in targets from here on out. Now, I would ordinarily go into my buy, but I sort of think it dovetails nicely with what you're trying to do. I'm going to go to my sell. And my sell right now, fresh off I can't even find a way to put it nicely. Let's call it an anemic performance on Thursday Night Football is old Dusty McDusterton, Todd Gurley, right? He's just so washed. But he keeps falling into the end zone, intentionally or not. And, he's the running back 7 in PPR scoring right now. And I know he's played one more game than everyone else, so you adjust for that. But he's been scoring you fantasy points. He hasn't been doing it well. He doesn't look good. He doesn't like he can beat anyone. But falling into the end zone is propping him up. Now, I think, he's probably going to see a little bit of touchdown regression. I think he's scoring too many touchdowns for what he's putting out in terms of yardage. But people need running backs. And if you can sell him to someone who doesn't really, pay attention to all of the games in the way that we might necessarily do and go back and try to watch as much as we can, just box score scouting or looking to see his fantasy points on a weekly basis, go and move Todd Gurley. And go and move Todd Gurley for Brandon Cooks. This is why I wanted to come to this now. I think it's a trade you can easily make, and it's a trade I would make in plenty of leagues because I think Brandon Cooks can easily be a wide receiver 2 value for you, but a guy who's probably going to be, if you go and make a move to acquire him, like the wide receiver 4 on your team, an incredibly strong flex for you, moving from here out. And if you drafted Todd Gurley, you likely got him in the 3rd round. And he's outperforming sort of expectations at the moment because of the lack of quality at the running back position. But anyone with eyes can see Brian Hill looks like the more dynamic runner in that backfield.
Yeah, he does look pretty solid.
He looks far better than Todd Gurley, and I think he's going to continue to take away opportunities and carries from Todd Gurley because he can beat men. He can get to the edge and get yardage. Gurley gets to the edge and goes out of bounds because the angle's being closed, because he just doesn't have that burst and acceleration anymore. So I'm completely out on Todd Gurley. In Dynasty, I'll sell him for a ham sandwich. And in redraft, I think you can get some return on him for someone like Brandon Cooks, a guy I completely endorse as a buy. Corey's guy who's been pounding the drum for him since the offseason. Broken record here on the Vault Studio Fantasy Podcast is there an opportunity for Corey to hype up Brandon Cooks? Yes. Yes. Will he do it? Yes. It's like a flow chart, right? Are we recording a podcast this week? Yes. Will there be an opportunity for Corey to talk about Brandon Cooks? Yes. Will he use this opportunity to gas up Brandon Cooks? Yes. That is the Brandon Cooks flow chart. Absolutely. We need to get a graphic designer to draw that up for us and put that.
We do.
All right. So that's my sell. I'm going to use the opportunity. I'm going to flip back around. I'm going to go 2 in a row here, sticking on the Thursday Night Football game on the other side of the ball. DJ Moore is my screaming buy in redraft, in Dynasty. Everyone is throwing DJ Moore out all of a sudden. A couple of months ago, people were ready to put him as a top 3 Dynasty wide receiver, and now everyone's like, nah, I'm out. I'm done. Like Twitter, like you, right? Because Twitter, if you haven't done it before, and I know people like work and stuff, they might not have the luxury. I can, being someone who sits at a desk for a living, I have the luxury of streaming the game and also being on Twitter at the same time when I'm not too busy. And the reaction on Twitter of declaring DJ Moore dead, like it's just the retirement of DJ Moore. Like, I get it. It's a funny bit. I enjoy it. Like, no one enjoys recycling bits more than me on Twitter over and over again. Just look how many times I tweet about Leonard Fournette. But in all seriousness, the reaction or the overreaction to DJ Moore, who actually finished the game leading the team in receiving yards, got some, garbage time or, trying final 2-minute drill yardage there, including a bomb, a beautiful 40-yard bomb. There was a bad ball by Teddy. He adjusted well, contested catch. DJ Moore can play. He has all the production profile you want. He's hyper athletic. Can be featured in the running game and get some end arounds. He can return punts and kicks. Like, he's super dynamic. He's young, productive. Like, he ticks all of the boxes. He's had a few blow up games. Robbie Anderson has been better than we thought, but both of these guys can be really, really good. And DJ Moore in Dynasty moving forward, like, I'm still buying him where I can. And I ran a Twitter poll because I wanted to see like what everyone loves to react and overreact to the new things, overreact to guys not performing well and declare them dead, retired, MIA, put them on a milk carton. So my poll was this. It was DJ Moore, Justin Jefferson, or Henry Ruggs. Who do you prefer in Dynasty? And like 60-something% of people wanted, and I've got nearly 1,000 responses. So, big sample size. Over 60% of people want Justin Jefferson. A few sickos out there. A few sickos out there. He's super hot right now.
We should have sent him for sale. So
he is so hot right now. And a few sickos went with Ruggs. It was like 30% of people wanted DJ Moore, and that's a big margin for a guy. Now, don't get me wrong. Justin Jefferson has looked sensational in his limited opportunities to date. And he's had some big games. But let me remind you of the teams he's had the big games against. Tennessee, who are just giving up all kinds against the pass. Houston, who are fielding one of the worst defenses. And Atlanta, who we know are one of the worst defensive units, particularly in the secondary. Every other game, he's done, sweet FA. 2 for 26, 3 for 34, and 3 for 23. So he's had these amazing blow-up games against bad teams, which is what you want from him. And then against better opposition, he hasn't done so well. Now, he's a rookie. I'm cutting him some slack here. But everyone's like, oh, Justin Jefferson. I guarantee you can find someone who's got Justin Jefferson as like a top 6 Dynasty wide receiver already. The overreactions are going to be absolutely phenomenal. And, people are going to be selling Julio Jones for a second-round pick come the end of the season after he's just gone, 7 for 130 odd or whatever he went for this week. So I guess this is just my way of saying buy DJ Moore because the overreaction and
It
people
was a
the
long way to get
disrespect.
there.
It's a
but
long way to get there, but I think
did it.
I think it was worth going on the journey with me to buying DJ Moore.
You know what? And you brought me on the journey, and I think I agree with you. I think at his current value, which is basically, I think it's a good place to buy him. Even if you don't love DJ Moore as a player, like myself, I still think he brings you really good value at this price point. So I agree with you on that one.
And the last thing I will say is it'll take if you buy him now, it'll take 2 more good games from DJ Moore, and his value will, he'll be a top 5 dynasty wide receiver again. And if you don't like him, just buy him to at the dip in value, let him appreciate in value a little bit, and then move him on. But he certainly feels like a buy for me right now. And at this point, feels like I've been talking forever. I'm going to kick it back to you for either a hold or a sell.
Yep. My sell is Kareem Hunt. Now, that might seem a little extreme. I know a lot of people have liked what Kareem Hunt has brought so far. At the same time, Nick Chubb is going to be back. And once he's back, I think this goes right back to being some kind of 50-50 timeshare. And, you're not looking at the same productivity. So I think selling now on Kareem Hunt is a guy that you probably didn't draft to be your RB1 or your RB2. You got in the 6th round, the 7th round, maybe even. And you can get some value back for. So a lot of people out there are very hungry for running backs. And I think this is a really good time to go out there and try to sell Kareem Hunt and see what you get back. If you love DJ Moore, there you go. Get DJ Moore right there. So I think Kareem Hunt can bring you back some nice value to your team, especially where you drafted him. And I don't think his value is going to get much higher than it is right now this season, especially with all the injuries and everything going on in the running back position. So Kareem Hunt is my sell.
Yeah, I get that because his value is pretty much peak right now. The Cleveland Browns are playing winning football at the moment. So I think while they'll want to be cautious with Chubb, they're not going to sit him on ice because the season's a lost cause and preserve until next year. And what we've seen with the Chubb and Hunt split, I mean, talk about overreactions on Twitter and throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Nick Chubb was dead and buried after week 1, and then week 2 came along and he was an absolute monster again. But I think what we're going to see, as we saw in the first few weeks before he got hurt, is that game script will determine the running back usage in Cleveland. If they're ahead and they're running the ball well and playing good defense, it's a Nick Chubb kind of day. If they're playing from behind and chasing the game, it's a Kareem Hunt kind of day. So really, whether you're going to feel comfortable getting expected points out of your lineup with these guys is going to be entirely based on the Vegas lines and the way that game is expected to go. Now, of course, it isn't always going to be like that, and you're not going to be benching Nick Chubb any week, but that's sort of how you can adjust your expectations, in my opinion. And I agree that if you can extract some top value for Kareem Hunt, you should absolutely be looking to do so, knowing that Nick Chubb is going to be coming back. The Browns are 5-2 this week. They go 6-2, like with the.
And they have a bye in week 9.
They have a bye. They go 6-2 into the bye week. Exactly, week 10. Nick Chubb comes back, good to go. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I'd be all for that if you can spare the luxury of moving on from Kareem Hunt, especially this week.
Yeah.
All right. That was your buy, sell, and did you have a hold as well?
Yep, my hold. It's not going to be very popular in the fantasy community, but it's Mike Evans. I think, we talked about it a little bit off the top about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation, but I don't think anyone should panic on Mike Evans. He's still one of the best receivers in the game. And it's still going to be a red zone threat for this team. I think that's probably where he brings most of his value to your fantasy team this year. He's gotten, 6 red zone targets this year. It's puts him 18th. I think he's going to have he's going to have more than that. He's 3rd in total TDs right now. So I think that's his value. I think everyone just needs to calm down a little bit. Yes, the panic stations have come out a couple times now with Mike Evans, and that's fair. At the same time, though, he's a mismatch problem, and I think it kind of helps him having AB there. So, a lot of teams just can easily kind of double Mike Evans and kind of take him out of the game because he's not a shifty receiver. Like he's running down the field, and they put a safety over the top. He's not going to get the ball. Tom Brady's not going to force that in there to him. He's not that. It's just not that type of team. So I think this actually might even open a few things up for Mike Evans on the outside. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think that is exactly what you need to do when you have Mike Evans. I think you need to wait and see how it all plays out.
Right. Some of the sort of trade offers where I'm seeing flying around Twitter at the moment, conversations in group chats about what his value is. People are really down on him at the moment. There's the statistic going around in the games that he's played with Chris Godwin this year. He's done sweet FA and, right.
Yeah. Who cares?
But also find me a better red zone weapon in football than Mike Evans. I don't think one exists. Like you could make arguments for some other people and maybe it gets pretty close, but I think Mike Evans is the best red zone weapon in football. He's phenomenal. He's a matchup nightmare. And I think Tom Brady knows that. And we know that because look at some of his stat lines. He's basically, 2 for 2 yards and 2 receptions, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? But Tom Brady knows this. He looks for him. It's just how it's going to go. You're going to have these frustrating weeks with Evans, but you're going to have some boom weeks as well. That's just how it is at the moment. As we said, there's going to be some inconsistencies week to week, but I don't think it means you bail out low level value.
He had 6 touchdowns he has 6 touchdowns through 7 games this year. He had 8 touchdowns in 2018 and 19. He had 5 in 2017. So let's settle down.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, the flip side to that argument is, well, he's probably going to see some touchdown regression because he doesn't have the yardage. But I also think he's being used in an incredibly unique way, and it's his volume at the goal line, not just in the red zone, at the goal line. The way he's being used when they get down there is really interesting, and they keep having success. And there's no reason to go away from that until someone makes them do otherwise. And good luck trying to, take Mike Evans out of the game inside the red zone. So. I'm with you on the hold situation on Mike Evans. My guy, my hold, last part of this segment is James Robinson. He's a hold for me right now because I've seen some trade offers flying around in Dynasty, Redraft. Now you got this guy for a penny off the waiver wire, and he's been an absolute star. And we're talking about a guy who's going to get you to the playoffs. I don't know if he's going to be a league winner. And I thought he was, and then I started to look into his schedule is great coming up to the playoffs. He has smash matchups every single game except against the Steelers. They sort of break up what's an incredible schedule. And then, once we get to the fantasy playoffs, weeks 15, 16, it's not great. My tab is just frozen on his schedule. Hold on. Give me a second here. The tableau from Sharp Football Stats has frozen. Great. I can't. Let me go to Pro Football Reference. I'll pull up the Jags schedule here. Right. So they get the Texans, great matchup. Packers, great matchup. Steelers, bad. Browns, good. Vikings, great matchup. Tennessee Titans, great matchup. And then it goes Baltimore, Chicago. So 2 bad matchups, weeks 15 and 16. But before that, it's full steam ahead for James Robinson. Guys, a hold. And then I think at week 14, you go, okay, I'm going to move on from him here. Sell him on the promise of this matchup, right? The Tennessee Titans, because he shouldn't be. Unless you've had some horrible injury luck, James Robinson shouldn't be your running back 1. Unless it's just been an absolute nightmare for you, J-Rob should not be your running back 1. And if he is, you can't be moving him on. But he's a firm hold for me until like that week 14 stage. And then I'm going to be like, okay, let's go to that guy who just crept into the playoffs and go, oh, you want to go for it? You want to really, see if you can make a Cinderella run here? You want to be that, 16 seed in the tournament? Take some James Robinson off my hands and go and get, a nice receiver in return or whatever you can do to improve your team. But yeah, that's why James Robinson's a hold for me. And then later in the season, he will become a sell.
Yeah, in Dynasty, I think that's a smart move. I think in redraft, I think I would try to sell him after the Packers game, depending on how that goes. If it goes well, then I think that's a good time to sell. And that's November 16th, that game. So they play the Steelers after that. I think that's probably the kind of area you're looking at. Obviously, if you need them, then you keep them. But, yeah, I think, like you said, in Dynasty for sure, you can hold on to them a little bit longer because there's no trade deadline. And then you can sell them for, draft pick or whatever you feel will help your team. So I think that's good. Not a bad idea because we just don't know. I think obviously there's some rumors now that the Jags are going to have a different quarterback. So I don't know how that's going to play out. If he's worse, if it's Mike Glennon or if it's Jake Luton, the rookie from Oregon State, how that looks, it's going to change the offense a little bit because Minshew, at least, he's probably not an NFL starter, but he's serviceable. I mean, he can get targets downfield to his weapons and things like that. So who knows? Mike Glennon, like if I'm a defense, I'm not really worried about Mike Glennon peppering me up. So
really, that's strange.
Jake Luton, maybe. I don't know. I know nothing about Jake Luton on Oregon State, so we'll see. But
I don't even think he's a real person. I think he just like pulled his name from NCAA 14. He's just like a regen character.
Yeah, I think I just signed him. But yeah,
2-star recruit.
I think you got to be very careful with James Robinson. I understand holding because he's been absolutely stellar for most people so far this season, and. Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how this Jags offense looks coming out of the bye week.
Yeah, and you never know what the organization might choose to do as well.
Exactly.
It's another. I know they're rebuilding, but they might get to the end of the season and go, okay, Minshew's out. Let's completely clean house here. New quarterback, new GM, all of that fun stuff, and they've got no loyalty to an undrafted free agent, even if he looked good. Right? They have no commitment. They have no investment in James Robinson. And, it's a fickle business. And if he has a slow end to the season, that's what they're going to remember. So, it really, the James Robinson case is a really interesting one. And I think in seasons to come, James Robinson is going to be held up as an example of, either everyone's, bought in too much on this undrafted free agent, or everyone's going to hang their hat on and go, look, he's the next, undrafted free agent that turned into be the great dynasty steal for seasons to come. So
yeah, true.
It's going to be super interesting to see his career arc and where that develops. All right, so those are our buy, sell, and holds. Let's move on to our next segment. Relevant because we're on the eve of Halloween. Those who are dead to me. And first of all, I'd just like to say you're welcome to everyone who rosters AJ Green. Because after declaring him dead and buried, let's call him AJ Lazarus Green. Yeah. AJ Lazarus Green, the fantasy zombie, back from the dead, and he started to look good again. He started to be serviceable again. Towards 12 targets in each of the last 2 games. So AJ Green, maybe a DFS play this week, maybe. But the guy who is unequivocally dead to me, and he's been dead for a few weeks, and really, I can't recall such a precipitous drop-off in just, being a guy who looked like he... Thank you. I was reading the dictionary before we jumped on. But someone who just absolutely dropped into dust is T.Y. Hilton. Man, what happens? Because I know he was banged up last year, but there were still some plays and you go, okay, yeah, T.Y.'s there. He just needs the quarterback. He just needs that serviceable, consistent QB play if he can stay healthy.
He's done.
Being healthy, he is done, man. He's the wide receiver 77. But he's played 74% of his team snaps. He has an 18% market share. He's getting looks. He just can't do anything with them because, instead of moving knees and ankles, someone's just replaced them with pieces of wood and seemingly limited all of his movement. I don't know what is going on with TY, but he just looks done, dead. Like, to the point where I would, in shallow dynasty leagues, I would consider dropping him. Not in like these deep 35 spot ones, but like some people playing dynasties, like 22, 23 roster spots.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Done. Like, unless someone wants to give you like a 3rd round pick for him and you go, okay, maybe. Or it's like a throw in to get another deal done. But he looks washed.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I would do is try to throw him into a package deal where you have a nice piece on a great piece and you throw in T.Y. Hilton's name value and try to, pry something away from an owner that you're looking at. So I don't think you're going to get tons back for him at this point. What's his contract situation? Because I feel like this is probably the last year in Indy if they can get out of it. I'm just going to quickly look while we're live here. But so
yeah, he's a UFA in 2021.
Yeah, well there you go.
After 2021, but he's got $0 guaranteed dollars left. Yeah, there's no way he comes back.
Yeah, I don't see how they bring him back. Obviously, whatever fix on that receiving core is not going to be T.Y. Hilton. So yeah, I think it's time to move on. I think he probably lands somewhere. Maybe that helps him. I doubt it. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a while now. He's been banged up. Now he's been healthy, but he just hasn't produced. So it might be curtains for good old TY.
Yeah, and at a relatively young age, 31, but all of those injuries, he's made a lot of money. It might just be time to hang it up. If he wants to play again next year, it's going to have to be on a very team-friendly deal. And I think they'll probably use him in a limited role, bring him in as a guy to just be a field stretcher and in obvious passing situations. But you can't expect him to be out there being that team's wide receiver 1, 2, maybe even 3 at this point. Like, it doesn't look like it's there for TY. Yeah,
definitely. He's set to make $14.5 million next year. That's not going to happen.
No, sir, it is not. All right, who is dead to you?
All right, dead to me is a player that I always end up with. I feel like every redraft, I'm sitting there at round 9, looking at my roster, and I'm like, I don't like these receivers that much. I don't like these running backs that much. Oh, there's a tight end. Oh, it's Evan Ingram. Should we do this again to myself? And every year I do it. I click the button. I got Evan Ingram on my team. I put him in my lineup. If he's not hurt, he's just not doing anything. And then I'm looking for replacements. I find a replacement, and he catches 6 passes for like 60 yards. I'm like, oh, this is the week. And then I play him, and he has 1 catch for 7 yards. And it's just a nightmare to own him. I dropped him in a league redraft. I know he had 6 catches last game, but I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I just need something consistent, even if it's middling. I dropped him. I picked up Gronk in a league. I have, Goddard on IR. So I was just like, you know what? I'm done with Ingram. He's dead. I can't do it anymore. I tried. I tried for multiple seasons.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You could, if his usage was there, you go, okay, I'll stick it out and hope it turns around. But the offense is absolutely dire, and he's being used in an incredibly conservative, shitty way, right? Of like eligible receivers at the target threshold, he has got the lowest yards per target, or yards per target out of all eligible tight ends. Like, he's not being used deep. He's basically Jason Garrett's Jason Witten. That's all he knows. So
2.2. No, that can't be right. He's got 26 receptions, which isn't bad. It's just yards per reception is 33rd in the league. It's not great.
Yeah, he's got 26 receptions for 28 yards.
Pretty much.
That's what it feels like. He's just getting checked downs at the line of scrimmage and falling over.
He's also leading tight ends in drops, so that's good.
So that always helps. Yeah, Giants offense is a mess. Who would have thought? So yeah, T.Y. Hilton and Evan Ingram dead to me. I will say T.Y. Hilton is dead to me everywhere. I'm still happy to buy low on Evan Ingram, particularly in like 2 tight end leagues. I do think the talent's there.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can't drop him there.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I just thought I'd be clear there because I talked a little bit about Dynasty and just wanted to clarify. All right. So they are the players who are dead to us. Let's move on to the guys we are streaming this week: a quarterback, a tight end, and a defensive player, all who are under 30% owned.
Oh, yep.
as it was last time. I'll start with my quarterback, and I'm going with Baker Mayfield, fresh off his career best game. He absolutely lit it up without Odell Beckham Jr. Not the toughest of opposition that he went against. But this week, guess what? Not exactly a tough opposition either, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are giving up 25 DraftKings points per game against opposing quarterbacks. So Baker Mayfield very much in play this week. I think if you're looking for a quarterback, maybe Cam Newton was your guy and you're not trusting him, or maybe your quarterback's on bye. Maybe you had I can't even think who's on bye week at the moment. My mind is struggling. I don't think there's any fancy relevant.
Yeah, Watson.
Yeah, if you had, right, thank you. If you had Deshaun Watson and you're scrambling looking for your QB2, Baker Mayfield I think is very much in play this week as a streamer at the quarterback position.
I mean that's not bad. I don't mind Baker. But I'm going to kind of go off the cuff here because I'm not sure what his ownership is at. But I'm going to say Derek Carr. Derek Carr, if you look at his stats, you'd be wild, actually. I think people just kind of just think Derek Carr and like, oh, yeah, Raiders, yeah, Derek Carr. They don't really actually have looked into it. But Derek Carr has been very, very good this year. Mm-hmm. I think, playing him this week, I think they're kind of a sneaky setup. We're going head to head there with the two guys. They're playing each other, but I think this Cleveland defense in the secondary is very gettable. They're starting to get more healthy now. The Raiders on offense. Nelson Aguilar is kind of taking a step up. He did have another brutal drop last week, but that's all right. That's what he does. But he's played better. Ruggs is there, obviously, and I think Derek Carr can take advantage of this matchup. So if the Raiders are going to win this game, I think Derek Carr is going to have to actually use his arm to do it. So I like Derek Carr this week as a streamer.
I absolutely love that call. And guys, Derek Carr has gone 5 games in a row with at least 250 passing yards and at least 2 passing touchdowns. He's been really, really good. And I actually really dug into Derek Carr. Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember when it came out. And I wrote an article on the Raw, which is like a freelance open journalism website, setting out the case for why Derek Carr should be in the MVP discussion. And I genuinely think he should be. He's not going to be there because he's boring. He's vanilla ice cream. He's a Toyota Camry. No one cares. And he's not got the absolute raw output. But when you contextualize what he's done compared to like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, if you look at his offensive line, which is being torn to shreds by injury, COVID, if you look at the receiving weapons that he's got, if you look at the schedule he's played, Derek Carr is being absolutely balling out this year, and no one wants to pay any attention to it. But he's certainly viable this week in fantasy, and this is a game to attack. In DFS as well. Build a game stack around this one, because this could low key turn out into a nice little shootout here that people are just not expecting. But it would not surprise me to see at the end both quarterbacks go for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns with a pick each or whatever. But Derek Carr has been great. His touchdown rate this season is like 6.5%, and he has 2 picks over the whole season. Like, he's been very, very, very good. And he's just not been at this lights out level that Russ Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have played at. But they've also played, powder puff schedules. So I'm looking forward to see what Derek Carr does for the rest of the season, to see come the end of the year whether he just force his way into the MVP conversation or not. I like that call. All right, let's move on to the tight end position. Moving on quickly here. Mike, the guy I'm going with is Richard Rodgers for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he's playing this Dallas defense, which is just atrocious. They're fighting each other. Mike Nolan's rubbing Tabasco in his eyes. Dallas Goedert is on IR. Zach Ertz is out. Deshaun Watson's on. Deshaun Watson, excuse me. I do this every time. Deshaun Jackson is on IR. Jalen Reagor's coming back, but I don't think they're going to give him a full complement of snaps right away. So it's Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Who else?
Yep.
Miles Sanders could be out again, which absolutely sucks. Richard Rodgers is, and he's scored some. Right, exactly. He's done as a streamer, a guy you can pick up for nothing. Go and get him right now. This is someone I feel completely comfortable starting. It wouldn't surprise me to see him be like a top 8 tight end this week.
Yeah, no, I like that call for sure because he came through in the clutch for me in a couple spots last week. So I don't mind that one bit. My pick is Greg Olsen, Seattle Seahawks. I know he's not a pretty pick. Sorry about that. He's not a pretty pick. But I think against the San Francisco 49ers defense that's pretty ravaged with injuries. I mean, obviously Patriots weren't going to be able to take advantage of it because they don't have any tight ends. But
what do you mean Ryan Izzo wasn't going to take advantage of that?
No, he was not. I could see Greg Olsen getting end zone in this one. He's under 30% owned, so I finally got into the criteria there. So I like Greg Olsen this week as a tight end streamer.
Yeah, and looking at the raw numbers there, San Francisco haven't given up a ton of points to the tight end position. But let's go back and look at some of the teams that they've played. Arizona Cardinals don't use a tight end. New York Jets have decided that Chris Herndon shouldn't be targeted at all for an unfathomable reason. He's retired. Chris Herndon retired. New York Giants, we talked about the woes of Evan Engram and his usage. So 3 for 3, just like no tight end usage against them. Okay. Philadelphia Eagles in week 4. Isn't that when Dallas Goedert got hurt, if I recall? Maybe. But Ertz has just not looked good all year long. Miami Dolphins, wasn't that the game where Mike
Gesicki score?
What's that?
Didn't Shaheen score that week?
Was that the game that Adam Shaheen scored?
I think he did. Shaheen did score that week. I think both the backup tight ends, Shaheen and the other guy, scored that week.
That's right. I
can't even think of his name. The third string tight end for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't think they scored. No, I don't think they scored in.
Was it a 2-point conversion?
Might have been a 2-point conversion because they've only given up one touchdown. Oh, what's his name? It begins with S? This is great content. Just us trying to guess the name. No, you know what? I've got to look it up because that's driving me absolutely mad. Durham Smythe. It does begin with S. Durham Smythe. There we go. Durham Smythe. So they played the Patriots, like we said. They played the Rams. They got Tyler Higbee and Jared Everett. Great, but they've barely faced any decent tight ends this so far.
And you just need a touchdown. And if freaking Shaheen can score against him, 1 catch, 3 yards, touchdown, 7 points. There you go. That's what you're looking for from tight end.
8.3 fantasy points, baby. That's all. That's literally all you need to make your week at the streaming if you're streaming a tight end. But all serious, Russell Wilson is looking the way of Greg Olsen in the red zone. He's a weapon for them down there. So a team that's dropping back and throwing the ball more than we ever thought possible in Seattle. He's supporting multiple receiving options. Greg Olsen very much in play as a streamer this week. And defense, I feel like this is a fairly obvious one. Just in terms of potential turnovers, they do give up yardage and fantasy points to receivers, as I talked about earlier. But Tennessee Titans, man, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, they're missing 3 starting O-linemen. Joe Mixon's probably going to be out again. going against a rookie quarterback who, he's looked good at times. He's also made some questionable decisions. He hangs onto the ball too much. He likes to get sacked. Like, this has got fantasy points written all over it for the Tennessee Titans, who seemingly are not well owned or very popular this week for some reason. So yeah, Tennessee Titans is a team that I'm really interested in season long and daily fantasy.
Yeah, I like that call. I think, Tennessee Titans kind of get after Cincinnati. I think they still have lots of issues on that O-line with injuries and stuff like that. So you can see the grass stains on Burrow's back this week. My choice is actually the Green Bay Packers. So going again, a little bit against the grain, taking Green Bay Packers because they're not owned anywhere really, 19% owned. So going against this Minnesota Vikings offense that is kind of blah, I expect the Packers to win this game. I expect them to cover this line. I know it's a little bit of a rivalry. It is a rivalry game, but I think the Packers take care of business, and I don't really see, I could see Kirk Cousins throwing at least one pick in this game, trying to force the ball, trying to play catch up against this Packers offense.
Yeah, we saw what happened in week one. And back then I said I don't think the Vikings were as bad as that, and I didn't think the Packers were as good as they showed in week one. And maybe I guess both of those have kind of been shown to be true. But yeah, I do like the Packers as a streaming option here. As you said, looking for Cousins to force the ball in catch-up situations is never a good thing. So yeah, some potential picks to be had there. So there are streams. I had Baker Mayfield, Richard Rodgers, and the Tennessee Titans. And Corey, you had Derek Carr, you had Greg Olsen, and the Green Bay Packers. Awesome. And we will wrap up the show with a couple of very quick listener questions. We've got two coming in. The first one, we appreciate the questions. As always, the first one from Peter Azzopardi. How many assets can Justin Herbert support moving forward? We've obviously seen him inject life into Keenan Allen.
I just did this article, but basically I was talking about it.
Go for it. The mic is yours, my friend.
I did ask the question to our DFF guys, the same thing. It's like, how many fantasy relevant guys can Herbert carry? And I just did an article on Jalen Guyton, who I really like. Obviously, he's a big play threat. And obviously, when you're looking at Jalen Guyton, picking him up, you're looking at, well, there's Keenan Allen. There's these running backs. There's, Eckler's hurt, obviously. But there's Mike Williams as well. So, but when I was looking at Jalen Guyton, I'm counting him and Mike Williams basically in the same spot because Mike Williams, contract is going to be a bit contentious at the end of this year if he doesn't, start stepping up a little bit more. Right now, Jalen Guyton's playing more than Mike Williams. So that being said, I think, Hunter Henry has been fine, but I think as Herbert grows into this offense and grows, more rapport with these guys, I think he could easily support, 4 or 5 guys on the low end, obviously, with some of them. But yeah, I think he can easily, support Eckler. He can support Keenan Allen. Obviously, he's been awesome since, coming over. I think he could support tight end. He could probably support 1, maybe even 2 supplementary wide receiver pieces, especially if they actually let him throw the ball even more than he's throwing it right now. So I think he's definitely capable of supporting 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a great offense moving forward. Lots of fantasy options there. Tight end concerns me a little bit. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Hunter Henry moving forward, but he's been a ghost really at the tight end position for where he was being drafted. Donald Parham's come on and had a couple of scores there. Mike Williams is such an interesting case because he's had a few big games. He had that big blow up game against
Keenan Allen was out, right?
That was the game against the Saints, right? Keenan Allen went out during that game. I believe that was the case. He had the big game, but it was the last. I think it was the last play of the game. Was it the last play of the game? He got a helmet like directly into the back. Remember, he was like, and I don't know. He was banged up, banged up going into the start of the season. This is Mike Williams' problem since his days in Clemson is his durability anyway. But he took a huge hit, and they went into their bye week. And I'm just thinking, the next game he came out against Jacksonville and went 1 for 4, one target, 1 reception for 4 yards. Like, that's not Mike Williams, and I think he can have better success this week going up against the Denver Broncos. People are going to be soured on him. But in terms of Herbert, I think he's going to be a fantasy stud. He's just, looks great. Looks just completely different than what he did at college. It's his night and day transformation. He's got all these weapons around him. I think this is going to be a nice offense that we go back to the well over and over again with in the next few years. So I think, running back are definitely 2 wide receivers and potentially a tight end as well, for sure.
Yep. Sure.
And then one last question, interesting one here, not necessarily fantasy generated, from Chris Morris. Shout out to Chris, a regular listener to the show, so we appreciate his support. Who do we think is going to be Rookie of the Year? Obviously, right out the gate, it looked like it was going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was the favorite. Then Joe Burrow. Now I've got Justin Herbert coming up. There's some buzz around Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb was there for a minute. Now he dead. Who do you think? I know you're a betting man. I know you like to flutter. So if you're putting your hard bet, $1 on one Rookie of the Year right now, who would it be?
I think it's a tough question. Obviously, I think it's gonna be one of the quarterbacks. I think that's where you lie. Just looking at the odds right now, Herbert's the favorite at $1.58. Holy cow! Joe Burrow's at $3.24. So I would just take Joe Burrow because you're getting value there.
The value there, for sure.
You never know what's going to happen with these guys. I mean, Burrow could explode and have a better season, and then Burrow just wins it. I think just looking at the odds, it's just one of those quarterbacks, and right now Burrow's has the value. So I'm gonna take Burrow.
Nice. Could you see Tua making a late charge if he lights out for the next 8 weeks?
Man, he'd have to be lights out like crazy.
Yeah,
if they make say they go he just wins 5-6 games, they make the playoffs, maybe. And Chargers fall off, they don't make the playoffs. Obviously, the Bengals aren't very good. Could happen. He's at $21 right now, so I don't love it though.
worth a fiver. Worth a fiver at $21.
You don't like Chase Claypool at 27?
I don't. I like.
You're Juju guy.
Juju guy. I'm a Deontay guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it.
Before
we get down a rabbit hole. But listen, man, it was great to be back. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. You can find me on Twitter at @FF_down under. You can find Corey at CMoney52. From Corey, from producer JA, who's out living up his freedom, sucking in that free air out of his home. From me, your host Lewis, thank you for tuning in once again. This has been the Vault Studio Fantasy Football Podcast. We will catch you next week.